The political earthquake that struck Texas politics yesterday afternoon has left Republicans scrambling and Democrats energized as news broke that State Representative James Talarico, the young progressive firebrand who has become a viral sensation for his passionate speeches and confrontational style, is reportedly preparing to announce a run for the United States Senate. Sources close to Talarico's inner circle confirm that meetings have been taking place behind closed doors for weeks, with major Democratic donors and strategists quietly building what one insider describes as a war machine designed to turn Texas blue and fundamentally reshape the political landscape of the Lone Star State. The fear among Texas Republicans is palpable and entirely understandable when you consider what James Talarico represents. At just 34 years old, he embodies everything that terrifies the Republican establishment about the changing demographics and political attitudes in Texas. He's young, charismatic, devastatingly effective in debate, and perhaps most frighteningly, for Republicans, he has an almost supernatural ability to make complex political arguments go viral on social media, reaching millions of voters who have traditionally been disengaged from the political process. His previous confrontations with Republican legislators have garnered hundreds of millions of views across various platforms, turning him into a political celebrity whose influence extends far beyond the borders of Texas. Picture the scene at the Republican Party headquarters in Austin when the news first broke. According to sources who were present, the emergency meeting that was called resembled something between a panic attack and a war council. Senior strategists, their faces pale with worry, huddled around conference tables covered with polling, data and demographic analyses that all pointed to the same terrifying conclusion for the GOP. James Talarico could actually win. The young representative from Round Rock has something that Republicans have struggled to counter: an authenticity and passion that resonates with younger voters, suburban women, and the growing Latino population that represents the future of Texas politics. What makes Talarico particularly dangerous to Republican dominance in Texas is his unique background and ability to connect with voters across traditional political divides. As a former public school teacher who spent years in the classroom before entering politics, he speaks with genuine authority about education issues that resonate with parents across the political spectrum. His deeply personal story of growing up in a working-class family, putting himself through college, and choosing to serve his community as a teacher before entering politics stands in stark contrast to the wealthy, often out-touch image that plagues many Texas Republicans. The viral moments that have made Talarico a household name among political observers showcase exactly why Republicans are right to be terrified. His confrontation with Republican legislators over book banning, where he quoted directly from the Bible to expose their hypocrisy, has been viewed over 50 million times across various platforms. His passionate defense of public education, where he reduced a Republican committee chair to stammering silence with a masterful combination of facts, moral authority, and righteous anger, became required viewing in political science classes across the country. These aren't just political speeches. They're generational moments that have fundamentally altered how young Texans view their state's politics. Behind the scenes, the Talarico team has been methodically building a campaign infrastructure that rivals anything Texas Democrats have previously assembled. Major Democratic donors from across the country have been making pilgrimages to Austin, checkbooks in hand, eager to be part of what they see as a historic opportunity to flip a Senate seat in Texas. One mega donor, speaking on condition of anonymity, described the enthusiasm around a potential Talarico campaign as unlike anything I've seen since Obama in 2008. The financial commitments being made are staggering, with early estimates suggesting that Talarico could raise over $100 million in the first quarter of his campaign alone. The demographic data that has Republicans losing sleep is compelling and increasingly impossible to ignore. Texas is rapidly urbanizing, with cities like Houston, Dallas, Austin, and San Antonio growing at explosive rates and becoming increasingly Democratic. The suburban areas that once formed the backbone of Republican dominance are shifting purple, driven by college-educated voters, particularly women, who are repelled by the extremism of the current Republican Party. Add to this the fact that Texas is becoming younger and more diverse every year, with Latino voters under 30 breaking heavily Democratic / and you have a recipe for Republican catastrophe. Talarico's legislative record provides a blueprint for the campaign he's likely to run, and it's precisely calibrated to exploit every Republican weakness. His championing of public education funding speaks to parents frustrated with underfunded schools. His advocacy for healthcare expansion addresses the fact that Texas has the highest rate of uninsured residents in the nation. His support for reproductive rights resonates with the majority of Texans who oppose the state's extreme abortion ban. On issue after issue, Talarico has positioned himself on the side of popular opinion while Republicans have retreated into increasingly unpopular ideological positions. The contrast in communication styles between Talarico and potential Republican opponents couldn't be starker. While Republican senators rely on tired talking points and Fox News appearances that reach an aging new, shrinking base, Talarico has mastered the art of modern political communication. His TikTok videos regularly garner millions of views. His Twitter threads become instant must-read content. And his ability to distill complex policy issues into digestible, shareable content has created an army of young supporters who hang on his every word. He doesn't just participate in political discourse, he shapes it, drives it, and often dominates it entirely. Republican strategists, speaking privately about their concerns, acknowledge that they have no easy answer to the Talarico problem. Traditional attack lines that work against other Democrats fall flat against him. They can't paint him as an out-of-touch elite when he was a public school teacher. They can't question his Texas roots when his family has been in the state for generations. They can't dismiss him as inexperienced when his legislative victories and viral moments demonstrate a political skill that most politicians never achieve. One Republican consultant, after several drinks at a Georgetown bar, admitted that Talarico might be unbeatable if he runs a competent campaign. The national implications of a Talarico Senate run extend far beyond Texas. If he can demonstrate that a progressive Democrat can compete and potentially win in Texas, it would fundamentally alter the national political landscape. Presidential campaigns would have to spend resources defending Texas rather than taking it for granted. The Senate map would be permanently expanded. Perhaps most importantly, it would signal that the demographic and cultural changes reshaping America have finally reached a tipping point in one of the most important states in the country. Talarico's approach to religion has been particularly effective at neutralizing one of the Republicans' most potent weapons in Texas. As a former Christian youth minister who can quote scripture from memory, he's turned religious arguments against Republicans with devastating effectiveness. Viral speech about how Jesus would respond to immigrant children seeking asylum left Republican legislators visibly uncomfortable as he systematically dismantled their attempts to use Christianity as a shield for cruel policies. This ability to reclaim moral and religious language from the right has opened up entirely new coalitions of voters who might otherwise never consider voting Democratic. The young voters who form the core of Talarico's support aren't just passive supporters. They're activists ready to walk through walls for him. Universities across Texas have seen the formation of Talarico clubs that organize watch parties for his speeches and mobilize volunteers for democratic causes. The energy resembles a movement more than a traditional political campaign, with young people creating art, music, and memes celebrating their political hero. This organic, grassroots enthusiasm is something money can't buy and Republicans can't replicate. No matter how hard they try, the policy platform that Talarico is expected to run on reads like a progressive wish list designed to mobilize base Democrats while appealing to persuadable independents. Universal health care addressed through a Medicare expansion that would help rural hospitals stay open. Climate action framed as job creation in renewable energy for oil and gas workers. Criminal justice reform presented as both moral imperative and fiscal responsibility. Education funding positioned as investment in Texas's economic future. Each policy carefully crafted to appeal to both the heart and the head. The moral and the practical. Labor unions traditionally weak in Texas see Talarico as their best hope for relevance in a state that has been hostile to organized labor for generations. His strong support for workers' rights, living wages, and collective bargaining has earned him endorsements from national unions who are prepared to pour resources into Texas like never before. The organizational muscle this provides, combined with his grassroots enthusiasm, creates a ground game that could overwhelm traditional Republican advantages in rural turnout. The response from national Democrats has been electric, with party leaders who have long dreamed of competing in Texas, seeing Talarico as their best chance in a generation. Chuck Schumer has reportedly cleared his schedule for multiple fundraising trips to Texas. Progressive stars like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Bernie Sanders have indicated they would campaign aggressively for him. The Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee is preparing to make Texas a top-tier race, potentially redirecting resources from other states to capitalize on this opportunity. Meanwhile, the current Republican senators from Texas find themselves in an awkward position. Ted Cruz, never popular even among Republicans, knows that a successful Talarico campaign could make his own re-election prospects dimmer. John Cornyn, facing his own vulnerabilities, has reportedly been frantically calling donors to shore up support for whoever emerges as the Republican nominee. The fear is that Talarico's campaign could create a wave that washes away Republican dominance at multiple levels of government. The Hispanic community's response to Talarico has been particularly noteworthy and troubling for Republicans who have made inroads with Latino voters in recent elections. Talarico's genuine engagement with Latino communities, his fluent Spanish, and his understanding of immigration as more than just a political talking point has resonated powerfully. Young Latinos in particular see him as someone who understands their experience and will fight for their families. It's a connection that transcends traditional partisan affiliations. The business community in Texas, traditionally a Republican stronghold, is showing surprising openness to Talarico's message. His emphasis on education and infrastructure investment appeals to technology companies concerned about workforce development. His more welcoming stance on immigration addresses labor shortages plaguing multiple industries. His opposition to culture war legislation that has led to boycotts and relocations has earned quiet support from corporations tired of the reputational damage from Texas's extremist policies, while few business leaders would publicly endorse him. The private conversations suggest a significant portion wouldn't actively oppose him either. The evangelical community, long considered a Republican lock in Texas, shows signs of generational fracture that Talarico is uniquely positioned to exploit. Younger evangelicals, troubled by the Republican Party's embrace of Trump and rejection of compassionate conservatism, find Talarico's message of social justice and care for the vulnerable more aligned with their understanding of Christian values. His ability to speak their language while offering a different political path has created cognitive dissonance that weakens Republican cultural hegemony. Environmental groups see Talarico as their champion in a state where climate change is already causing devastating impacts. His ability to frame environmental protection as economic opportunity and moral responsibility resonates in a state experiencing unprecedented droughts, floods, and hurricanes. Young Texans who have grown up with climate change as an existential threat see him as one of the few politicians taking their concerns seriously. Adding another layer to his generational appeal, the LGBTQ community and their allies view Talarico as a crucial bulwark against the aggressive anti-LGBTQ legislation pushed by Texas Republicans. His emotional speeches defending transgender children and their families have earned him devoted support from a community that feels under siege. The organizational capacity and fundraising power this brings to his campaign cannot be underestimated, particularly in mobilizing urban and suburban voters who might otherwise sit out a midterm election. Veterans groups have taken notice of Talarico's strong support for military families and veteran services, areas where Republicans have traditionally held advantage but have recently shown vulnerability. His emphasis on mental health services, healthcare access, and educational benefits for veterans resonates with younger veterans returning from Iraq and Afghanistan. This potential erosion of Republican support among military communities represents another devastating blow to their traditional coalition, as the political world awaits Talarico's formal announcement. The transformation already occurring in Texas politics is remarkable. Democratic candidates down ballot are reporting increased enthusiasm and volunteer signups. Republican incumbents are moving to the center on various issues, trying to preempt attacks they know are coming. The entire political conversation in the state has shifted, with Talarico's potential candidacy forcing discussions about issues Republicans would prefer to avoid. The operational expertise that Talarico brings from his legislative career cannot be underestimated. He has demonstrated an understanding of both policy details and political theater that few politicians possess. His ability to craft legislation that puts Republicans in impossible positions, forcing them to vote against popular proposals, shows a strategic mind that will translate well to a statewide campaign. His team has studied successful insurgent campaigns across the country, learning from victories and defeats to craft a uniquely Texas approach. The calendar favors Talarico in ways that have Republicans particularly concerned. The Senate race would coincide with presidential election turnout, traditionally favoring Democrats in recent cycles. The ongoing demographic shifts will have advanced another 2 years by Election Day. The extreme positions Republicans have taken on abortion, guns, and education will have had more time to alienate suburban voters. Every passing day makes Texas more favorable terrain for a Democrat with Talarico's profile and abilities. Looking at the early polling, while still preliminary, shows why Republicans are right to panic. Talarico starts with higher name recognition than typical state legislators thanks to his viral moments. His favorable ratings among independents and soft Republicans exceed anything Texas Democrats have seen in recent memory. Most tellingly, his support among voters under 40 approaches levels that, if maintained and turned out, would fundamentally reshape Texas elections. The crosstabs that Republican strategists are studying with growing alarm show a candidate uniquely suited to this moment in Texas history. The infrastructure being built for this campaign represents a quantum leap from previous Democratic efforts. In Texas, rather than relying on national consultants parachuting in with generic strategies, Talarico is building a distinctly Texas operation that understands the state's unique political geography. Organizers are being hired from local communities, rather than imported from other states. Messages are being crafted that speak to Texas pride while offering progressive solutions. This authentic, grounded approach addresses the persistent criticism that Democrats don't understand Texas values, as Republicans desperately search for effective counter-strategies. They're finding their traditional playbook increasingly obsolete. The culture war issues that once reliably mobilized their base now alienate crucial suburban voters. The economic messages that once resonated ring hollow after years of infrastructure failures and corporate welfare. The fear-mongering about socialism falls flat against a former public school teacher talking about basic fairness and opportunity. They're trapped between a base that demands extremism and a broader electorate increasingly repelled by it. The money race, traditionally a Republican advantage in Texas, shows signs of competitive parity that would have been unthinkable Just years ago, small dollar donations to Talarico's exploratory committee have shattered records, demonstrating grassroots enthusiasm that translates into volunteer hours and voter turnout. Major Democratic donors, tired of watching Texas slip away by narrow margins, are ready to invest unprecedented sums. The financial advantage Republicans have long enjoyed is evaporating, leaving them without one of their most crucial strategic Ks, assets. In the end, what terrifies Texas Republicans most about James Talarico isn't just his political skills or fundraising potential or demographic advantages. It's what he represents, the future of Texas politics arriving ahead of schedule. A younger, more diverse, more progressive state that relegates the current Republican establishment to the history books. His potential Senate run isn't just another campaign, it's an existential threat to Republican dominance that has defined Texas politics for a generation. As one shell-shocked Republican strategist put it, watching another Talarico viral video rack up millions of views, he's not just trying to beat us, he's trying to replace us entirely. And based on the evidence accumulating daily, that fear appears entirely justified.